don't just, well, I'm home.
Record is up.
You're going to have days like that. And you're going to have days where you feel like you failed, you fell short, you didn't do enough.
Right here on Ferguson USA Hot Talk Radio. I'm back. I know last week was an off week. We did a repeat, but I'm significantly dumber this week. They took my wisdom teeth out. Ooh, that's kind of a funky shading, Papa. I kind of like that.
I already told you that.
We're kind of like black and white world. This is what happens when you get one too many Kirks in the same place. But I'll get right back to that in just a second. So if my voice sounds terrible today, if at any point I just collapse and pass out, I quit taking their narcotics on Sunday for the pain meds, but they took my wisdom teeth out, and there was no way I was talking last week, and probably by the end of this I'm going to sound like a total fool. My tongue is still half numb, and it just is what it is. But anyway, it's hot. It's August. It's a hot August day out here in St. Louis, and with that, I get the privilege and honor and distinction of having the one and only Kirk Faubel on here with me this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
We've taken over the world.
Yes, we have.
There's two
Not
Kirks
too many
in the
Kirks
same place.
In the same room.
Love it. I love it. I love it.
I'm scared.
Don't be afraid, Papa. You just deal with Hal over there.
I do have to say, getting your wisdom teeth taken out is the best sleep I've ever gotten. At least for a couple hours while it was going on.
Yeah, apparently I got combative while I was under. So next week when I go to my follow-up, I don't know what I should bring. I feel like I should bring something and say, I'm sorry, I didn't know what I did. But hey, whatever. It is what it is. My wife didn't kill me, but I did spend a few months taking care of her when she had her hand surgery back in December. So she actually drove me today just for safety's sake. Feeling okay. I'm not really in pain. I'm just kind of numb and kind of silly. But reason we got Kirk on here today, he was going to be on last week, but obviously it didn't work out because I was useless. Not that I'm going to be much more use today. But Kirk has recently started his own independent insurance company. As a broker, I guess that's the official terminology for it. So we're going to spend some time here talking about what he does, why he does it. Our first introduction was a while ago, and see, that's how I segue into envelop stuff. See, I do this all the time. But, when I'm putting up for the airtime, I get to do what I want to. And then, you never know with two Kirks in the same place and two Kirks with like whiskey, we may talk whiskey. You never know. So let's talk about your new adventure, Kirk, and what you got going on. And first off, obviously, Papa's going to put the name on it, but let's start. What's the name of it and that kind of stuff?
So I'm part of a local group called Watchdog Insurance Group. So it's a group that was here, or that is here primarily in the St. Louis area. We cover 4 states currently, so Missouri, Illinois, Wisconsin, and Kansas. I'm licensed in 3 of those, and looking to add my Kansas license very shortly here. So I'll have all 4 states that we currently operate.
Nice. Remember driving across Kansas. Beware of tumbleweed. So how did you get into the insurance field? Because when we met, you were working for a different company doing, well, in short terminology, smart house
Correct.
equipment, things that turn your lights on,
Sure.
adjust your heat, all that kind of stuff. That's when we met, and actually we did a scan many moons ago, even before I became part of Envelop. Chris did it. Really cool house. I'll have to share that out there and show you all the neat little tricks and gadgets. And that's how we met, and then just through networking and years and years and years now.
Yes, absolutely.
It's been quite a
4
while.
years.
4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. 4
Yeah.
years. So 5, heck, whatever, something like that. So how did you then transition from that position that you were in into the insurance field? Because you were part of a national company, just working for them, and then how did you get into insurance, and then how did
Sure.
you decide to make that transition to what you're doing now?
Sure. So insurance is really my second full career. I did have that window with the custom audio, video, and home integration and everything along those lines. So my background is retail management. So managed big box stores. So I worked for a regional electronics, furniture, and appliance company for about 18 years. So that was the bulk of my career. Ran stores, worked for the corporate training department, sales manager, corporate manager. So did a lot of different things. And they closed in St. Louis in 2011. So I worked for a couple other retailers after that, running some stores. And had a lot of fun doing it, but at some point, after 23 years of retail, it wears on you.
It does.
Every year, as you've seen, although this year might be a little bit different with COVID, but hours got longer every year, and we're open on Thanksgiving, and we're open on this holiday, and holidays like Memorial Day, Labor Day, used to be close early, now they're open normal business hours or extended hours. So
That's what the big sales are.
You're, they've kind of taught people that this is when you need to shop or on these special days. So it really got overwhelming to have a family, and my wife works in corporate America, and just wasn't conducive to being able to have a great relationship and being able to spend time when every time she's off, I have to work extra. So I was looking to get out of that. So a friend of mine that worked for me at the retailer had his own company that did the smart homes, the security systems, home theater rooms, and all that. He was looking to grow a little bit, and I was looking to get out of retail, so it was a good marriage. Learned fairly quickly there that that is a young man's game. So I started going to conferences that they would take us to where they showcase all this new technology, which is great. And I'm not very old, but I was typically the oldest person in the room. It's a lot of 20-somethings.
Right.
And I'm a pretty simple guy too, and it's cool stuff. I love what it can do, but for me in my house, I'm not super passionate about it. But I've always been super passionate about helping people, educating people. So a friend of mine who had worked in the insurance industry for a while made the transition from doing route sales of vending machines to the insurance industry, talked to me about some openings that they had, and learned about it, and the rest is history. So
Excellent. So then you basically went into, I don't want to use corporate, but basically a corporate company.
Yep.
That you were working for that one company for, it's been a couple of years, I guess?
Yeah, 3 years.
Yeah. And so then what made you decide to take it from that step into opening your own independent brokerage?
So I don't know that I've followed a really different path than a lot of people do in the industry. Working for a large agency, a captive agency, is a great way to get started because you get phenomenal training. There was some base pay that was there, which helps out when you're going from a corporate salaried world where you've made good income your whole life to almost making nothing.
Right.
So really, really good training. And as you're trying to learn the industry, it was really helpful to learn just one line of products and one company's worth of products. So you kind of can learn the generalities of the industry, and then only have to learn about one product line per se, not
one
multiple
version
product
of
lines.
that
Yep.
specific.
You got it.
Specific.
So as you get through the industry and you start to talk to more and more clients and potential clients, you start to realize and learn very quickly that every insurance company, not necessarily intentionally, but they all have very elaborate algorithms that calculate what pricing is for any particular person. There is no really human interaction anymore in underwriting. It's all done by a computer. You learn pretty quickly that, well, this age group does well, or this area of the city does well, or newer homes do well, bigger homes do well, brick homes do well, depending on the carrier. And you find out pretty quickly that you're spinning your wheels a ton. And you're trying to help people. People are sending you referrals, and that's how I get most of my businesses, through referrals. And you get embarrassed that, oh, geez, the rate is pretty high for you. I can't help you. I'll give you some recommendations on coverage, but I know you can get some better pricing here. And every insurance company is like that. Their algorithms just kind of work out that, you know, certain types of homes, certain sizes of homes, certain age groups just do better. You know, whatever their target audience is. So you learn pretty quickly that, just like back in my retail days, you didn't just sell one brand of TV, you sold 7 or 8, because this brand was great for people that wanted low price. If you wanted all the bells and whistles, you did a Pioneer Elite, and then you had all the other brands in between. Insurance is really no different. So I realized I needed choices and flexibility for all different types of people to really make the most of the opportunities that I had. So you go from closing at maybe 20 to 25% to closing 65 to 70% of the people you're talking to, because you can find a home for just about anybody when you're an independent agent and have 9 carriers to work with.
And remember, I've been on narcotics for a week, so if I goose this up, but I think it's like the law of large numbers or something like that. Essentially, insurance companies are basically, they're betting, they're gambling. I don't know use the word gambling, but they're putting their faith in different people and different insurance companies. I mean, they made it so if you have a license, you have to be able to get insurance. So if you have, I mean, DUIs are horrible. Don't think that I'm trying to like say they're good, but if you have 5 DUIs on your license, somebody still has to give you insurance. Well, there's a company that's going to, they're almost going to like focus on that. There's probably one company that has better rates for somebody that has a horrible driving record, because they're betting that eventually that person has finally learned their lesson and isn't an idiot anymore. And so they're going to be they'll make their rates a little lower than what everybody else would charge for the same person, so they get all that business. And I'm sure their payouts can be high, but they're also kind of gambling on that. And some people are focused on, you know, the safe clients, the 50-year-old people who don't speed, don't get speeding tickets, don't get in wrecks, don't make claims on their house, you know, that kind of stuff. That's why insurance is so complicated. That's why I bring on people like Kirk and, well, Jerry Conlon, he was on a couple months ago. He does something similar, probably, I mean, the same ballpark as what you do. But again, that's when, if you're looking to do things, we'll talk a little bit more about this later, you should talk to multiple people, because the people that Kirk works with are different than Jerry, or, oh God, Bruce's name just flew into my head, Bruce Jenkins. I'll give him a little shout out, but don't take it we're talking to Kirk Faubel, so call Kirk first. That's how this works on here. There's other guys, but essentially there's a lot of options out there, and if you should definitely do your homework and shop with multiple people.
Correct. And to me, the most important part too is getting a deeper understanding of the client than just what's the lowest price for you. Some examples I like to use, there's a lot of new coverages available in the insurance world, and the insurance world is very data driven. So it's very conservative. They don't make changes quickly, so they want to have facts and figures before they make any decisions. So with a lot of people buying higher end vehicles right now, Teslas for instance, or there's a lot of Audis in the road, Mercedes, things along those lines. If you have a vehicle accident, the standard practice in the insurance world is that auto body buys the least expensive parts they can find. And if your vehicle's a little bit older, over 10 years old, sometimes that means finding a part from a junkyard, potentially, especially if the vehicle's no longer made. So if you just bought that brand new Audi and spent $80,000, $90,000 on it, and someone hit you on the way out of the parking lot, you may not want a third-party part on your car. You know, hey, I paid for an Audi, I want an Audi part. So there's a coverage that some carriers have, not all, that called OEM parts, which means original equipment manufacturer. It means if your fender was damaged, they're going to go to Audi and order the exact fender, get the Audi paint, and go ahead and do that. There's an extra cost to that, but that's something I talk about if someone has a more expensive vehicle. How comfortable are you if you were in an accident today that they would use third-party parts? Honda don't want third-party parts. Great. Let's focus on this company then, because they can offer that coverage. So it's not just about price for everybody, it's about getting the coverage that's important to them too, and that starts with asking good questions and really understanding your customer and not doing a one-size-fits-all approach, which is fairly common in my industry.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And you know, in 5 years, if that person still has that car, that changes. People's lives are dynamic. They're not always set in stone, which is why, you know, if you talk to any respectable insurance professional, even Kirk, they tell you to look at these things every year, every 2 years, and 3 I would think would be the maximum, because things change. Insurance companies themselves, even they flip those algorithms, they change those dynamics. They're in the business of making money, so if they think they can make money from a different there goes the brain flaking out on me. Different category, different
Venue?
Well, venue, not that. Demographic, there it is.
Oh, there you go.
It just takes a minute to leak out. That they're going to adjust their rates to try to draw that business, essentially. Speaking of Audis, you know Mike Richardson? He just got a used Audi R5.
Awesome.
Oh, God, I got to see it a couple weeks ago. It's matte, like, it's like a dark, steely gray. It's not quite black, but it's got a matte wrap on it. Oh, God, it's smoking hot. There's your shout-out, Richardson. He called me on the phone Saturday and made fun of me talking like with my big swollen tongue. But yeah, it's funny you brought that up, because it's pretty cool. Or he got it, you know, I think it was at least, I guess. And, you know, he didn't spend full price on it, but he got a good deal on it, and it is sweet.
Awesome.
So taking that a little bit of a step further, so you know, we talk a lot about insurance, and insurance is one of those fields that's very vast, and for people who do a lot of networking like we do, you can't drop a drink in a networking event without hitting an insurance agent with it. It's a terrible reference. Again, remember, I was on narcotics for a week, so
You are fun when you are on
don't
narcotics.
do drugs, kids. Stay in school. There's my PSA there. So what makes Kirk Faubel different than everyone else that's out there in this realm?
Based on feedback from clients that I've worked with and other people that I network with, so I mentioned before I have a corporate training background. I also went to school to be a teacher, so I've coached kids sports. I love the educational side of it, and part of my initial training when I got into the industry was just to start calling random insurance offices and just kind of see what kind of experience you get. And a very common experience I got was a couple minutes on the phone. Great, I'll throw a quote out to you in 15, 20 minutes here, and kind of the law of large numbers from the agency perspective. Well, if I quote 100 people today, I'm bound to get a few of them.
Right.
Again, I would rather work smarter and not harder, so my approach is using that education background, really trying to understand what I'm protecting. I don't use a one-size-fits-all approach. You know, you and I could live in the same neighborhood, we could have the same size house, we could make the same income every year. But if I have whiskey parties at my house every weekend and open up lots of bottles of whiskey and people fall over, potentially have an accident when I leave, versus you never have anyone at your house.
No, I'm having everybody at your house. You got the good stuff.
He does. We're going to open up a bar right there.
There we go. Don't do that at home.
No.
At least don't sell it.
Don't sell it, right?
My risk is greater than your risk. So those are things we need to talk about. So it's not don't do those things, but if you're going to do those things, great. It's my job to help you protect what your lifestyle is. Just like if you have kids and you have a trampoline in your yard, some companies may or may not take that. And then the best feedback I get from clients is a couple things. First of all, during the initial process, they love how I help them understand what a specific coverage is. So I use that teaching background and I paint pictures and You know, if they're a bike rider, I might talk to them about medical payments coverage. This not only helps when you're in your vehicle, if you get hit while you're on your bicycle, it may step in and pay some of your medical bills for you while you're riding a bicycle.
Gotcha.
So I'll use stories to help them understand what these very technical, very legal named coverages are. And then I think where I really set myself apart is after the interaction's over, after they choose to buy insurance from me. So one of the things I learned managing my retail days, because obviously retail world, electronics, you can buy a TV anywhere now, you can buy furniture just about anywhere. You had to create that loyal customer base that kept coming back to you. And that was done kind of like in the real estate world, where you try to stay in constant contact with people. So I make sure all of my clients understand that, look, I'm your first point of contact if you have a question. I'm your first point of contact if you have a claim.
Mm-hmm.
So I also joke around with them, look, if you're bleeding, if your house is on fire, please call 911 first. Don't call me. I'm not going to come with a bucket.
Right, don't call from the burning house.
But after you've called 911, call me and I'll walk you through what we should do. And then we can also have further discussions. Does it make sense to even make a claim right now? Because some companies will penalize you for a claim even if they don't pay out a penny for that claim. So an example, I have some customers down in Richmond Heights. They had a neighbor that was moving out of their house. They had a small brick retaining wall between the houses. She wasn't paying attention. She tripped over one of the bricks and fell. They did the right thing. They called 911 and ambulance. And so they called me afterwards, kind of panicked. I'm like, well, first of all, that's why we put the insurance in place that we did to protect your assets. You don't have anything to worry about, even if she decides to sue you. But here's some things I want you to do. I want you to make notes, because if you go to court a year from now, you're going to forget exactly what she was doing. So I had them take notes that she was not watching, that she was carrying boxes, that she was talking to someone else. Take pictures of the wall, showing all the walls, the bricks are secured, and everything along those lines. So my customers love that they can call me for claims advice. They also love that they can call me that, hey, I had a hailstorm. Who should I call for a roof? Who do you trust? And then I really build that referral network with folks like you, and really follow kind of that Zig Ziglar approach of you can get whatever you want just by helping as many people get what they want. So I really try to help my my trusted partners, and I could do a lot of vetting with them too to make sure they're trustworthy before I give their name out. I don't just willy-nilly give out a name and hope and pray that
it turns out good. Yeah. Please don't screw this up.
May the odds ever be in your favor.
Yes. There might have been extra revenue. Okay, so it's just crazy because either I'm hearing things, or we got a cricket here.
We have a cricket in here.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Jiminy is just making sure we do it right.
Checking in. Yeah.
That's right.
We have all kinds of characters here. Hal is being cooperative today. Good job, Hal.
Not really. Look at the color.
Well, okay, so the color's a little goofy.
You know, if I start to doze off, we use Amazon Echo at night as a noisemaker, and we found one called Crickets, and it sounds like you're sleeping outside. So this is kind of what this reminds me of. So if I doze off, just throw me an elbow or something.
It'll be all right. It'll be all right. Yeah, Hal's sometimes different. Today, this don't adjust your set. Hal is taking us back to kind of like a 79-ish, 1979-ish. I've got a weird halo though.
That's a shadow of your actual color.
Interesting.
He does too. I've had this problem for a couple weeks, and I fixed it by reinstalling the software.
Yeah.
But today, Hal wants to do what it is.
For those of you that have listened in and don't know the reference, Hal is a direct reference to Stanley Kubrick, right?
Yeah.
2001. Yeah, 2001: A Space Odyssey from 1969 or something like that.
Yep.
Hal's the computer. Hal flips out. If you've never seen the movie, you need to watch the movie, just because you just have to. It was what I grew up watching.
It's a cult classic.
It is a cult classic. I think I watched it on beta for the first time. How about that? We ran it for Blockbuster on beta, and I watched it. So that's how many years old I am today. Let's talk a little bit further about your connection with your clients, because we see it all the time on TV, on even on YouTube, Netflix, all that stuff. The commercials that come up about calling a 1-800 number, or 1-876-976. No, that's a different kind of number, isn't it? About calling them and getting insurance and stuff like that. Why should people literally pick up the phone and call you to talk about their insurance
Sure.
versus these, outside of it just being a one company thing, but just calling a 1-800 number and
Sure.
things like that.
One of the things I also like to tell people, especially locally here in the St. Louis market, no one on the phone is going to know how to pronounce Gravois or Bellefontaine Neighbors or any of those other kind of unique pronunciations we have here in St. Louis.
Gravois.
So
Right.
you need to know those things. It's important to have someone in the community who knows the community. The last couple of weeks, especially, we're in North County. If you drive around, there's a lot of dumpsters out right now because there were tons of flooded basements up in this area. Someone in an 800 number based in Tampa, Florida, isn't going to know that the most common claim we pay out in the St. Louis market is wind and hail, and it's followed typically pretty closely by water backup claims from sump pump or sewer backup. Wind and hail, of course, is covered on just about every policy. The deductible might be different, but water backup isn't covered on any standard policy. It's an optional coverage you have to have. I make sure that's on everybody's policy and make sure they understand why it's on there. So even though it's optional, it's really not optional if you're not working with me.
Oh,
Or if you are working with me, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, and that totally makes sense because, I mean, that's just something that people don't understand when they go, oh, I've got homeowners insurance. Well, that doesn't mean everything in the world.
Sure.
Insurance companies have never been in business by giving people as much money as possible on claims. They stay in existence. They have the biggest buildings in town because there's a lot of hoops you've got to go through. They're going to try to find every way, without making this sound impersonal and harsh, but they try to find every way not to make those payouts or pay out as little as possible.
Yeah, sure.
That's how they stay in business, which is why having somebody like Kirk, again, on top of 1-800 Tampa Tammy, just go with me. Just let that go. Tampa Tammy. It's not that's different, but he's going to actually, as much as he can, you'll go to bat for your clients.
Absolutely.
When you know that something like that water backup is in place on their policy, that they were not negligent. They didn't, try to... By the way, flushable wipes are not flushable.
Bingo.
Do not read the package. I've had 2 sewer backups in Millstone. Because of flushable wipes. Ignore that. They are not flushable. They clog things up. It's messy. Don't flush them.
Exactly.
My PSA for PSA 2. That might be 3 for the day. Apparently I'm PSAing it all over the place.
Yeah, and going back to the deductible side as well, and going back to the 800 numbers or purchasing online, again, those web pages are often set up to spit out a low price to attract you to sign up for it instantly. So again, I've done this myself just to see how some of these work. So when clients call in, I kind of know what I'm comparing to. It'll ask you to put your existing coverage levels in. But often the quotes that get spit out are not at the same levels you had before. They're giving you a lower coverage level or taking off full coverage on older vehicles that you may have fully covered to try to attract you with a lower price, and then you have to manually go in. And if you don't know what you're doing or you're not paying attention, you may sign up for something and then have a surprise the day the claim hits, which is something you don't want to do.
Right.
The other thing that'll spit out a lot is very, very high deductibles. So I worked with a client a couple months ago that was purchasing a beautiful home out in Wildwood area, and he had gotten an online quote for someone, and I'll always ask him to send them to me so I can, even if I can't write your business for you, let me at least make sure you're getting what you're expecting. And one of the things I noticed right away is his deductible was 2% for wind and hail. So it was an $800,000 dwelling, so it would have been a $16,000 deductible. So I will always ask, hey, did you know this was on here? No. Okay, so the way to think about it in the insurance world, whether it's life insurance, if it's life insurance, if you passed away tomorrow, would your family have enough money? No different in property and casualty. If you had a wind and hailstorm tomorrow that damaged your roof, you needed a roof replacement, are you comfortable writing a $16,000 check?
Right,
If
exactly.
yes, hey, no problem. You're good where you are. But 99% of the time, it's no. That's way too much. I'm comfortable writing a $2,500 check. Okay, so we need to make sure that we're adjusting this. And my job is to, in my opinion, is to make sure that on the worst day of your life, so a house fire, a tornado, hurricanes that are going on down south, water backup claim, damaging all your old pictures, all that good stuff. On the worst day of your life, to make sure we show up with the right check. And the best way to do that is to help people understand what they're purchasing it, why they're purchasing it, and have the right coverage in place. So I can smile and say, hey, don't worry, you're covered.
Absolutely. As opposed to, yeah, so we don't have that in the coverage. Right, exactly. And that's having dealt with that before and stuff. Mine was $2,000, but I was comfortable with a $2,000 check for the roof that just got replaced on my house. But again, people don't always pay attention. You just look at the price part. We talked about this earlier. You can't just look at the price.
Correct.
I mean, very simply, and like I said, narcotic brain again, but like on your auto insurance, there's the 3 different numbers, and it's part liability, part, you know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't have a clue. But that's a real quick way to look at auto insurance and compare it. Is it 100, 300, 100,000, or is it 50, 100, 50,000? That right there is like the easiest, most glaring observation. Jeez, I'm not doing good today. We'll just keep going. I'll let Kirk talk more, I promise. But that's something definitely to make sure you are in fact comparing apples to apples, and that this policy is the same as that policy. And unless you're going to go and try to learn the insurance language, you should have somebody that has a clue what the heck they're talking about.
Absolutely. Yeah, so you're referring to liability coverages on the auto, and it's not only comparing to what you have, but also is what you have still appropriate for today's world and for your life today. So most people, hopefully, they're doing better in 2020 than they were in 1980 or 1990 or 2000.
I think we were.
Maybe we'll go back to 2019.
Yeah.
But
yeah, exactly.
Many people have stayed with their same agency for 10, 15, 20 years, and they've never had their numbers adjusted. And in 2000, I think the average price of a new car was like $22,000, $23,000. Now it's almost $40,000, with many vehicles over $100,000 on the road. And I've seen Lamborghinis around here, Acura NSXs that push close to $300,000. There's a lot of luxury vehicles out there, and if it's your unlucky day and you're checking a text and you run a stop sign or a red light and you hit one of those vehicles and you have $50,000 of property damage coverage, the rest of that's coming out of your bank account.
Yeah, you're gonna not be in good shape.
Yeah.
You may be you may be looking at the B word, honestly, at that point, because unless you can write a $250,000 check. Well, we just did we're out at the Miracles in Progress. I don't know if you ever met Trina Akins. It's a very cool group. Miracles in Progress. They are a local group that tries to help kids that are dealing with like terminal cancer and other illnesses and maladies. Maladies? Is that a real word? I think that's a real word. Kind of a day to like forget about what they're going through. But they was out at St. Charles, the Family Arena, and there was Lambos, there's Ferraris, there was Audis, there was all kinds of street rides, everything like that. And then the kids got to pick which car they wanted to ride in, and rode from there out to Mascots out in St. Peter's. Oh, it was so cool. It was yeah. We shown some of the cars that were some of the cars were there, and the car geek in me was very excited. You know, since the days I had that '86 Lamborghini Countach in the calendar on my wall and things like that. Yeah. I got to look at them, but honestly, it's not even my car, and I'm walking around, and I could feel the cringe, like, God, don't kick a rock, don't, you know, it's just like, goodness, but yeah.
Yeah, and if you're the owner of one of those vehicles, or you're in a large home, you know, the flip side of it, too, of being properly protected is you instantly are a target. Let's face it, we're in a very litigious society. It's very easy to sue people. People like to sue people.
Yes, they do.
Juries are good at giving away other people's money, especially when it's not coming out of their pocket. But if you're in one of those fancy cars and you hit somebody, instantly there's back pain or neck pain, even if it's not accurate. So you want to have adequate insurance, because the insurance company is responsible to defend you up to the limits of your policy. So depending where your limits are, if you have a very low limit, they might just cut a $50,000 check and they're done.
They're done. Yeah,
they're done defending you. But if you have a larger policy, that insurance company has a vested interest to defend you and try to minimize those losses, investigate, make sure medical records are accurate, make sure they're not fictitious claims, which does happen quite a bit. Insurance fraud is, of course, a pretty real thing.
it's a very, very big thing.
Especially on the medical side.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you're going to, I guess you're going to jump out in front of a car, jumping out in front of a Lambo instead of a truck.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little, you're going up instead of under if you do that. So yeah, I was kind of going back here, just reading through. So we talked a little bit about some of the misconceptions here as far as coverage goes, but what are some of the other misconceptions that people have about
Sure.
insurance?
You know, I think going back to one of the things you talked about with, the insurance company wants to spend as little as possible, which of course they do, but you've signed a legal contract when you've gone into insurance. So within reason, they're obligated to pay out what that contract says. Especially on the auto insurance side, the insurance industry has something called the loss ratio, which basically tracks how many dollars in claims that they spend for every dollar of premium they took in. If you go out and research some of the public insurance companies and research those, you'll find in many cases that loss ratio is over 1, meaning they've actually paid out more just in claims cost than they've actually taken in premium dollars. So it's not a high profit per person thing. Sometimes there's other things like investments where they make their money. I'm sure homeowners insurance, when we're not having tornadoes and hailstorms, is more profitable than auto insurance. But probably what the big thing people don't understand is insurance is probably the most regulated industry in our country. So not only do you have kind of national ideals of what the insurance companies do, but every insurance company in every state that they practice in, so if you take a big company like State Farm, who's in all 50 states, they have to know the laws and rules and regulations of the insurance industry in that state. And if you think back to when COVID first started, and a lot of insurance companies, including ones I represent, were giving refunds on premiums because people were driving less. Even giving a refund had to be approved by every state's insurance commissioner. So even giving money back to people, they had to find out what the number was, why you were doing it, and how you were justifying it. But when you're going to do an overall rate increase in the state has to see that and has to approve that. If a client's not happy with their claims experience and not getting anywhere, you can actually contact the State Board of Insurance, and if they agree with you, that Board of Insurance can actually force the insurance company to pay. So the oversight is extreme, and as an agent, there's very strict regulations, just like there are for financial planners. So very, very regulated, and nothing the insurance industry is doing, contrary to what some people believe, is they're just trying to get rich off of me, because the oversight is extreme, and if there truly is some miscommunication, I have to carry insurance called errors and omissions and professional liability, just like a doctor does, just like a construction company does, that protects me for those miscommunications that are out there. So that's probably the biggest misconception about the industry.
Gotcha. All right, so I gotta ask this question. Not that it's not queued up because we do this. If you don't believe, come on, I'm not this smart. See, we have things we're talking about here. But no, so you're talking about helping people and being that teacher. Is that the best part you feel about being an insurance agent, or is there other parts that come to you?
Sure. So I've talked about a couple of them. I really enjoy what I do. Started off as a math major, so very good at math. So I get the numbers. Really like to help people. Compared to retail, I love the opportunity it's created for myself and my family. My oldest kids are both in Wisconsin now, graduating from college. So this flexibility allows me to go visit my mom, who lives in Wisconsin, who's getting older. None of us are getting any younger. The other big part for me,
for sure.
Going back to even my childhood, giving back to the community has always been extremely important to me, and I never want to forget where I came from. So I grew up in the city of Milwaukee. My dad was a police officer, so I grew up in some fairly rough neighborhoods at times, and experienced a lot of people in poverty, and ourselves as a family. My mom was a part-time nurse's assistant when I was a kid, so not making very much money back in those days. So we were low middle class. So I'm not afraid to look at the blessings I've been given through my professional career and want to share that with my community. So again, going back to the retail days where you have to be in a store every day and you have to work these long hours, you just either don't have the time or energy to really participate as much as you'd like to. So in college, I ran a tutoring program in Evansville, Indiana at the church. I worked at the YMCA doing football clinics, basketball clinics back when I was in high school. So having the time to give back to my local community is something very important as I moved into a new career. And running your own agency especially, I have no restrictions. I schedule stuff when it's convenient for myself, my clients, but also so I can be out there, boots on the ground. I'm a big believer in being there, not just cutting a check. Cutting a check goes so far, but having your face out there, getting your hands dirty with the local charities is important. So before COVID, one of the ones I enjoy the most is actually just right down the road here at Normandy Early Childhood Center. Work with a group called Ready Readers, and literacy is a big issue.
Is that the Dolly Parton?
No.
No. Okay.
So this is a local one here, just in the greater St. Louis area.
Right.
So they work with school districts and early childhood centers throughout the area, typically where there's lower income families. And I read books to kids every Friday morning. I had 2 classrooms of 3, 4, and 5-year-olds that I worked with. And just trying to create that passion for reading. And then also sponsors provided books that you could give to the kids. So you'd read the book, send them home with it. So I always go back, when I talk about this, I go back to, I worked in fast food when I was in high school and worked at a garden center. Back then, training, even when I started my career in retail, training was done in person. There was someone who showed you how to do stuff. They taught you how to fish. You went out and fished. There is no company that I know of today that really provides that level of training. Almost all of it is here, sit at this computer, kind of like our kids are doing back to school right now. And the computer is going to show you everything you need to know about the job. Guess what? If you can't read,
yeah, that's a big deal.
You can't even work in fast food anymore. So it's so important to me to have literacy. And plus, with I've got an almost 4-year-old at home. I love reading with her. She's got probably 400 or 500 books at home already.
Awesome.
So taking that passion and giving back to the community. But I had a friend. We were having a socially distanced, just kind of hang out a couple weeks ago, and he was talking to me about, boy, how did you get started in giving back? Because you don't just do one thing. You give to so many different places and so many different people. So the reading has been kind of my most consistent one, where I do it all the time. But if someone needs help with something, I did a food drive earlier this summer with Care to Learn. Every October I
Felice was on.
Yep, Felice with Felice Tovar when he was there, helped him out with that. Every October, Kirkwood does something called Hands on Kirkwood, where you help out members of the community with household things that they can't. I typically run a gutter cleaning crew to help prevent damage to their home. Volunteered at the food bank when COVID just started, so my church does 1,000 turkey meals the week before Thanksgiving every year. So to me, having the time to do that is very important in choosing a career. And I don't need to be the wealthiest person on the face of the planet. That's not my goal. But I use it to make enough money to where I can give back to those things financially as well, or when I need to take time off of work, I can afford to do those things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So just a quick recap. I don't know who had Dolly Parton on their bingo card today, but that one was way out of left field over there from Papa Bear.
No, she has a reading
program.
program.
I totally know that. I just was like, we're going to start printing bingo cards off of random things that just appeared in the show. We were at Dolly Parton on there. That was a big stuff. Well, so that actually kind of leads into this next question too, because that in itself, managing your own time and scheduling things when you want to, that sounds great. That sounds amazing. However, there are trade-offs that you have to make in order to be able to do that. That might mean that, guess what? You might have to work on a Saturday. You might need to work on part of a Sunday. You may need to work on at other times, especially when you're in business for yourself, that it's not a 9-to-5 job.
Correct.
But that enables you, by it not being that, if your kid has a field trip you want to go on, assuming we're going to do that again. I mean, I'm assuming we're going to get to field trips again.
Virtual.
But, yeah, no, like real field trips. But you can take that time and schedule that to go do that. So beyond that, if somebody wants to come and dip their toes into the insurance field world, what are some ideas and some advice? And I'm going to add a piece in that we'll see if...
Sure.
Well, our wavelength is pretty similar. I'm going to see if you throw this in there, but go ahead.
So, I don't necessarily not recommend the path that I took where you start with either working in an agency office if you just aren't sure about it, where you might have a base pay and limited limited lines that you're working on. It's a great way to learn and not get overwhelmed. So if you can't absorb a lot of information, so that's a great way to get in, is just learn from someone who's already doing it, where you can make a little money and maybe there's a bonus structure or some kind of commission structure. So that's how I got started in the industry. I had a base salary plus commission. So going from an all salary world where you're making really good income managing retail stores, it's a little scary to go to all commission. But if you're in a situation right now where you're making no income or just living on unemployment, you can make a lot more in the insurance world if you're aggressive. But I would say you have to help people, willing to help people. You have to be a great listener. You've got to be a problem solver, because again, when you're putting together this puzzle of how to protect people, you really are taking the information they gave you and putting together a puzzle or a solution based on what their particular needs are. And you just have to me again, networking is so important in today's world. If you talk to an insurance agent who's been in 30 years, they probably did a lot of door-to-door stuff, a lot of in-home presentations, and if you got this house, you went and hit everybody else in the block, because that's how insurance used to be with manual underwriters. We like this neighborhood, great. Our rates are great in this neighborhood, we're going to go get everyone. Again, two neighbors, exact same house, could have totally different costs of insurance based on things like credit, claims history, professions, all that good stuff. So you've got to be willing to go out and use technology and resources. My business has actually grown during COVID because I've stayed front and center during through online Zoom meetings and Facebook, LinkedIn. So you have to be willing to probably unlearn things that you've done before and learn how to leverage technology in your favor, and you'll be successful.
Absolutely, and I'm going to add my little tidbit in, just because I've said this before on this show. I'm talking to you. You young up-and-comer, right there, you. Here's what you don't do. In networking, whether it's Zoom, whether it's in person, you don't go into the room and find this guy and go, I'm selling him insurance right now. Because guess what's not going to happen? They're never going to talk to you again. You need to build relationships first. People do not refer people to Kirk Faubel because of insurance. They refer people to him because he's built relationships with people like me, with people like, no, we're not going to give Sean Hayes a shout out. Oh crap, we just did. Darn it! I didn't mean to give Hayes a shout out. But people like George Slaughter, on down the line, you build relationships with people first. Become someone's friend. That doesn't mean you go hang out every day on the weekends, but you build trust with people first. Then, and only then, do people start referring business to you. That's my PSA number 4. Is that 4 or 5?
I think that's 5.
Is that 5? I
Yeah.
don't know. But that always, I always see that, because we both do tons of networking. You see that where it's like, oh God, here they come. Let me think. Is that going to be a New York Life guy? Is it gonna, not calling out New York Life, but insurance companies, especially corporate ones, they tend to try to get the young, aggressive fireballs, and it's like, okay,
The hunters.
the hunters, take it down a step.
And
Build
social
relationships.
media has really become kind of the same thing now, especially LinkedIn, where it's you get a connection request. It's literally the moment you accept that
Here it
request.
comes, yeah.
Hey, I'm looking to sell leads to you. Do you want to buy
Exactly.
some? It's like, How about hi? How are you? How long have you been in the business?
Exactly.
Are you from the St. Louis
You
area?
need insurance? You need a car?
So pretty much,
Can I
those just
invest
go
all
on
of
the,
your money? Will you trust me with your life savings? We don't know each other yet, and I mispronounced
to
your
your
name.
house?
Can I come to your house? Can we talk? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's funny, but I always liked it though there because it's that whole teaching thing. I don't have a teaching background, but it's all about trying to. God, there goes the language thing.
To me, it's like why I appreciate bourbon so much. It's a process. It's very methodical.
Mm-hmm.
It takes time,
It
probably
take
more time than any of us would like. A good bourbon takes many years to accomplish. So does building your business through networking.
This is why Kirk Faubel makes the show.
Quality control goes a long
control.
way in
Exactly.
building those relationships and taking care of people when they have. I have people that reach out to me, friends I went to high school with that don't live in states where I offer insurance, but will ask me questions, and I can't specifically answer them, but I'm like, okay, in general, here's what this means, and here's why they're doing it, and here's the questions you should ask. So when I say I'm a trusted insurance agent, people that I don't even cover will come to me with questions. I've got a mortgage guy that I work with fairly regularly whose mom was in an accident. He didn't call her insurance agent. He called me and said, hey, here's what happened. What should she do? And we kind of walked through some possible scenarios. So
Absolutely.
I like providing that service and trust, and eventually those people will come to me is the way I see it.
Absolutely, and even to take a step further. See, we're gonna turn this into a bourbon for the rest, bourbon and whiskey the rest of the way up.
There we go.
But this goes to, watch this. You're gonna love this. Not everybody wants the same thing. See, for some people, they need a big mix. So when you're talking about a big time name, like let's say a Jim Beam or a Jack Daniels or Wild Turkey, they have thousands and thousands, if not millions, of different barrels. They bring a bunch of those together, blend them together, and then out of that comes something for everybody. However, there are some people that want to step it up a level or 60 levels, and they want that one single barrel out of there. And then some people pay way too much for Pappy. But do you like that? See, insurance, whiskey. Are you paying attention out there? No. But no,
You're gonna have a bunch of alcoholics, but
no,
we're
we're
done.
not encouraging. We're only using that as metaphorical descriptination. I don't know if that's even a word. Remember, narcotics, that's how it went.
That's your excuse.
I get to use that excuse at least for this week because I can't even feel half my tongue. It was actually disappointing. Last night was the first night that I didn't take any painkillers, so in the bar bingo world, things are still weird. We got grounded in Illinois. You guys know I'm not going to pontificate on political stuff, but I actually had the one bar that I usually call it, my daughter calls, and it's your typical bar. They got the Jack, the Jim, the Johnny Walker Black, and stuff like that. But for whatever reason, I think it's just because of me, there's always a bottle of Teeling small batch and a bottle of Glenlivet 12. So I'm like, okay, I'm just having one. I got a Glenlivet 12 last night, and I couldn't hardly taste anything because my tongue is numb, so it was very disappointing. But it is what it is, right? So yeah, we're gonna we got a few more minutes. So what is been? I give up. What has been, or what is the most challenging part of being an agent, jumping out of your
Sure.
own kind of, what's the biggest challenges you face?
As an agent, it's really a nickel and dime industry. It's not like selling a home where you could be making thousands of dollars at a time. You're building your book of business $100 at a time or a couple $100 at a time. So it takes a while and a lot of people to talk to. And then, again, in today's age of technology, there are a lot of people where it's just easier to call an 800 number. It's easier to go online. So finding the people that truly want to have a relationship is a little bit different these days, but there are more of those people out there, I think, that we give credit for. Mm-hmm. And then I'll gladly write a policy for someone who's just looking to save a buck or two. but I know as soon as another carrier has something a buck or two cheaper, they're going to leave me for the same reason. I want to find clients that have assets to protect, because those people are typically a little bit more interested in talking about the hows and whys to do it. But again, just overcoming some of those preconceptions of the insurance industry. I've also found too that the first-time home buyers, which is now a lot of millennials and even a lot of Gen Zers, there's this misconception that they're so technologically savvy, which they are, and they just want to do everything online. But I've actually found the opposite to be true with that age group, because they've had parents that have done just about everything for them. And I've got my oldest is kind of on the border of millennial, Gen Z, and then all the rest are Gen Z. A lot of times, being able to get them to sit down and actually talk about them and help them understand, they really appreciate that guidance and almost like that parent figure to them, that I'm going to help you understand and help you make wise decisions about stuff maybe your parents didn't teach you about or you didn't get a class for in school. So just trying to slow people down in today's crazy world enough to get them to stop and listen, because again, the last thing you want to do is find out you didn't have the right coverage after you've had a claim.
Oh, absolutely. And there's nobody there to blame at that point. Exactly. Yeah, that's. I think definitely it's so weird. Everything runs like a pendulum anyway, you know. And I think that whole generation where everything was online, and now it's like everything is online. And somebody's coined the phrase. It's like almost Zoom fatigue. Like people are somewhat done with it. Now, me, I was Zooming before Zoom was cool. But you know, in a sense, it's a great tool. It's a time saver. But I mean, you and I are relatively the same when it comes to this. We're hands-on people. We need to be out in front of people, talking to people, seeing people. I say this with a grain of salt, touching people, but I meaning like, stop it, Papa. I can see that look on your face. That's not what I meant. I'm going to be a handshaker. Get over it. It's the way it is. I have hand sanitizer. I do that all the time, but I'm a handshaker. I'm a face-to-face person. And I think we're going to see a very interesting swing at some point where there's going to be a lot more face-to-face.
Sure.
People have had it taken away from them now. And, I mean, the extrovert in me has been dying a slow death for 6 months now, almost. 6 months, 5. St. Patty's Day, so 5 months. By the way, it's my brother's birthday today. Happy birthday, Corey.
Happy birthday.
40, let's see, it's 2020. That makes him 43. I can do calendar math. How about that?
Ooh.
Yay! We have a couple minutes left here. I'm just going to kind of throw it to you. Give me a story. I know you can't talk totally, very specifics, but something that's either the strangest story you've had since the insurance, the most heartwarming story, the craziest thing you've been a part of, just some kind of interesting, some kind of intriguing, something kind of crazy kind of story.
One of my favorite clients that's been with me for about 2.5, 3 years, they were relocated here from Germany. So hadn't been in the States for 5 years. So out of the country for quite some time, which creates issues for insurance companies because there's no motor vehicle record, there's no insurance record. The laws in Germany are quite a bit different than they are here in terms of insurance. It was a task to get them covered and to get them covered to where I felt they should have been. Lots of phone calls to underwriters, getting everything in place. About 2 months after they moved here and closed on their beautiful house, about a $900,000 house, hailstorm went through and trashed their roof. It was a $35,000 roof.
Oh my!
Damaged some windows, discontinued windows. Got them connected with a contractor that lived in the area, so got the contractor out that day, because the worst thing to me when hailstorms hit is door knockers, especially door knockers that aren't located in your state. Whatever you do, don't hire someone who's from out of state for a contracting job. You have no recourse whatsoever. So
you can see them coming down the highway.
Helped them through that process. They didn't have vehicles when they got here. So helped them get their vehicle insurance all taken care of, the proper coverage. He got rear-ended about a month after he got his brand new pickup truck. So helped him get to a specific auto body that I knew was going to take great care of him. Got his rental car taken care of. Thanksgiving last year, they sent me a thank you card with a gift certificate. Normally, I'm the one sending thank you cards. So those are great stories to me when someone appreciates what you've done so much for them that they actually are sending you money, extra money than the insurance company is getting for the service you provided. So thankfully, knock on wood, I haven't had any crazy claims experience or anything yet in my 3 years. Again, a lot of it's preparation, and
Absolutely.
I do a lot of teaching on my socials of how to prevent claims, like don't throw your ashes from your fire pit in your garbage can a day later.
Am I supposed to do that?
Things along those lines
Right.
to really make you think about things maybe in ways you hadn't before, to help be an advocate for yourself to not use your insurance. Insurance really should be used for those significant catastrophes, not for $1,500 small loss. If you can hang for it, take care of it yourself.
Awesome. Well, Kirk, I want to thank you for coming on today. It's
Thank
been
you
an
for having me. I
absolute
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
We had a good time here today. So we'll get Kirk's info out there. Remember, this will be downloadable
Yep, you got it.
from the podcast library at www.fergusonusa.hottalkradio.com. On the podcast library, you click there. One of these days, I'm gonna get my bio done on the page.
One of these days.
One of these days, it'll also be watchable, viewable, listenable. I'm making a bunch of bulls. I'm full of a bunch of bull. That's normal for me. Here on Facebook and things like that. Look up Kirk on the Facebook page. We will share his social information out there as well. His number was on the screen there, but I'll just give it to you. It's 618-363-5272 is his cell number. Hey, look at that. Ta-da!
Beautiful.
The magic of television.
There was no whiskey or Kirks harmed in the making of the Kirk Schilling Extravaganza today. We'll try that a different time, probably at a later show time than 10 in the morning. However, be good to each other out there, St. Louis. Take care. It's hot out there. Make sure you stay hydrated. Papa, you ready to take us out of here? Take us out.